Hey everybody, it is Tech Tuesday, our first Tuesday in August. Welcome, welcome. Hope everybody's doing good. Yellow Wolf, Inman, our fabulous users. So we have a small group today. We'll see who else joins us, but ER and I were talking earlier, and I mean, he couldn't be more on point because I know this is one of the tripwires that I run into all the time. We were talking about one thing, but he was talking about obsession. I was talking about perfection.
Yeah.
Anybody else run into that where you're like, ooh, it's just not ready to send yet? Anybody else run into that? See, then you get into perfection and you think like, oh, if it's not good enough or it's not perfect or I haven't finished or this isn't the right picture or this isn't, I should have had my haircut or I should have said this other word or, and we just keep oring ourselves till we never finish. And then we never send anything and all of our shuffle cards live in our phone and they never get out to the public. Mike, I don't see you as a person that does this, but I bet you help a lot of people to do this.
Yes, and I had to help myself first because I went through that in the early days of it's got to be perfect. And I finally came to that listening to other people because I have a coach too. And it's like, hey, like ER says, done is better than perfect and got to get something done, get it out there. And then from that point, you can perfect that, you know.
I
But
totally
once
agree.
what I really learned is once I did it, even though it wasn't perfect, it got the job done.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
I think that's so spot on, Mike. Done is better than perfect. We use it as an internal mantra all the time. We have to remind ourselves all the time, hey guys, done is better than perfect. And it's almost like in any element that you're working on within your card or within this business, like, okay, I need to put a video on a card that's going to talk about X, Y, and Z. And you've done this sort of, Jeff mock out the script type of thing, and you're ready to do it. And then Cathy, to your point, oh, my hair is off in that thing. Like, done is better than perfect. Get it cranked out. To Mike, your point, put it out there, and then look for the response, look for the feedback. I want to tell a quick story about this done is better than perfect, especially since we can all typically get trapped into that obsession, perfection, a trap. And it was a research study I had read a while ago about email and email click-through rates based on the subject that you send out. So anybody who's ever done any email marketing knows you have your email list. You're going to send out to that email list. You've got a few things that you can control. You can control the subject of that email. You can control what's in the body of that email. But what you can't necessarily control is deliverability. Sometimes they'll go into people's spam boxes, etc. So you have a deliverability variable. You have an open rate variable. How many people who it did get delivered to are going to click on it? Then you have a click-through rate of the people who clicked on it and read it, who took your calls to action. And this is no different than, say, your landing page. Again, you're going to have visitors who come to your landing page. They're going to scroll through. They may click on stuff, or they may just leave the page after visiting it. And you want to look at the data, the feedback loop from that thing. And the research study I was seeing on the email took 2 emails to the same audiences to split test. And the only difference was, and this was the novel thing about this, the only difference was in one of those emails, they intentionally went back in and made some mistakes in spelling and punctuation and some of that type of stuff. And they pushed it back out there and measured the results. And this was the interesting thing. And I'm not saying that you should intentionally focus on not being perfect, but the reality was the imperfect email actually performed better than the perfect email. And they went back and they asked the people, like, why did you click through on this? What about this? Did you notice this? Because when we're creating our copy, guys, we are focused on word for word. What does it read? What does it look like? What does it say? How does it flow? But the viewer, we have to remember, is typically just glancing, viewing through, swiping down. They're not hanging on every word, even though that's what we intend them to do. And actually the response was there's more authenticity and realism in these emails that seem like somebody quickly put them together. You know what I mean? So always keep in mind that done is better than perfect, and having something out there, even if there are errors or issues, you might be surprised that when you do come back, and this is the beauty of the platform, is you can come back over and over and over again and revise as much as you want. You might be surprised that you have a law of diminishing return on all of your revisions and punctuations and spelling and look and feel, but you can continually dial it in until you feel like you've found that sweet spot.
Who edits their text messaging? Oh my God. I cannot send out a text that's not spelled right. I'm sorry. It's like, it's in my DNA. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is.
My edit always happens after the send, right? I do a lot of voice to text, and anybody who texts with me, you'll come to find out like half of my messages back to you, it's like there's a word in there that just doesn't fit the sentence, and it's because voice to text screwed that up. And then I'll have to text back like the correct word with a little asterisk and stuff like that. So again, it's part of just getting it out and moving forward, and then maybe coming back and saying, hey, this word versus this word.
I just think it's funny. Well, and I mean, even so, you go, there's so many aspects of done is better than perfect, right? And maybe we'll pick Mike's brain a little bit, but I mean, there's also like you could have just too much, right? So if you keep adding and adding, right, like you get these long pages that, because people will send me, shuffle cards, and it's just got so much text on it. And I'm sure it's the same thing with websites and anything else that you've designed in the past, but it's not just perfecting, it's also just take away some of that, it's a lot of it is fluff sometimes.
Yeah. We want to simplify. We want to reduce friction. We want to remember that a confused mind always says no. So the goal with all of these landing pages, and one of the big reasons why you have 10 of them, is you want to put the right information on there. And we've talked about this so many times, some of that could be dictated by the feedback loop that you're currently getting. Oh, these are like the 3 common questions I get from everybody. Great. You have a choice now. You can put all 3 answers on one card, or you can create 3 separate cards that addresses each one of those common questions you might get from a prospect or a customer. My argument would be putting them on 3 separate cards is actually going to benefit you, because if they need answer number 3 and you put them all on one page, they're going to get confused by answer number 1 and answer number 2 sitting above it. So it's easier to create 3 pages and be like, oh, great. Thanks for asking that question, Anna. Here, let me send you a card. And it's specifically speaking to Anna's question, or, Cathy's question, or Mike's question. That's why I like to be very focused on what, not too much.
They could also be confused on why you even answered those 2 questions. Like, that's not even what I asked you, right? But yep. I think too that it's also just like, what did we talk about earlier? Oh, I told ER he should trademark the blip, right? So it's going to go from a reel to a blip, and we had a good laugh about this. Where in the future, is it going to be like a 30-second time that we have to fit in a video that people will watch? I mean, they're even me, if I'm sitting there scrolling through a page or something, I'm just like, okay, I'll come back to this, and then of course unless I'm really interested, I rarely get back to the whole thing. So even doing those, like the video landing pages or the short informational pages, we get this question a lot. How can I do a video with a link that goes to my lead capture pop-up? That's all I want. And I'm like, that's great, because we can do that.
Yep. And you can do it really simply on the platform, right? Especially if you're talking about just 2 elements sitting on a page, right? I just want a video, and then underneath that video is a button, and you have to visualize your recipient, right? They're going to come to this page independent on how they received that link. There's a million ways to share the link, but they come in and they see your video, and then they have an option. They're either going to click the button or they're going to bounce from the page. I think there's a time and a place, and there are best practices for all of these types of strategies. I don't want to say don't create a long page, because there's a time and a place for it. And I think I would encourage anybody, outside of the scope of this direct training, you could go on Google, really, like that's your starting base for like research. And you could search for things like best practices for a web page design, or web page marketing, or web page content. And it will give you some general overall guidelines that I think all of us would agree with. Some other things, like there are different types of sales funnels and sales copy. We know we've had Jeff on here several times talking about how important copy is, but understand that there's not a catch-all, one-size-fits-all for all copy flows. There are going to be a lot of gurus who will say, this is the way you want to structure a funnel. This is how you want to make it a multi-page funnel. I know back in the day, something that worked very successfully for a lot of internet promoters was what we would call the endless scrolling sales funnel. It was not multiple pages, it was one page, but it was broken up into sections that were all stacked. But there was a methodology, a method to that madness, right? And we have to, again, recall the person who's looking at our content typically has less than 3 seconds, you know what I mean, to gain their attention before they're going to be distracted by something else, you know? And we have to remember, like, it's the goldfish mentality. You've got like an 8-second memory. So we're looking at what are they going to see immediately? We have to understand, you know, is it going to be on a device where we expect that the way we're promoting it out there, they're going to be coming in on their phone versus their computer? You know, if you're sending it out via text message, there's a 99.9% chance, unless they have text on their computer, that they're going to be opening and viewing it through the phone. So you want to look at, when you preview your own card on the phone, is it optimized for that? What's sitting above the fold? How much scrolling do they have to do? Is it apparent that they should need to scroll? Am I going to catch their attention right when they open it up? And then what are the most important things that I might want to have next? Do I have clear calls to action? If I'm doing an endless scrolling page, maybe every section that you know, follows the previous section is to answer common objections that we've had when we talk to people, but we're sprinkling common calls to action throughout that, so that once the person has their objections answered by the information provided, they can take the call to action, versus a typical mistake I see, which is like you have a call to action right at the very top and then one all the way at the bottom, and they're in the middle of the page and they're like, I just needed to see the testimonials. Now I've got validation. I'm ready to move forward. And they've got to either scroll back up to move forward or scroll back down. You know, so there are strategies to all of that type of stuff. There's a lot of information online that are best practices. And I'm sure if anybody of us Googles that and then looks at probably 5 guides, you're going to start to see the pattern or the similarities.
And again, that's the nice thing about Shuffle, right? You can have those two, you can have different ways. Here's one card that has everything that you need to learn from A to Z. And here's another card. Figure out which one works best for you, or which one works best for the person you're sending it to.
Yeah, the key is not to be confined within the constraints of a singular template.
Yep.
Okay. Again, the biggest thing is there is not a one size fits all. There's always in the back of my mind the right information to the right person at the right time. And so whenever I'm building my cards or my landing pages, I'm always thinking at the end, who is the recipient and what information do they see and what order do they see it in and what calls to action do I want them to take?
Agree. Anna, what's up?
Hello, everybody. I love this topic. I just want to say, yes, having those short sound bites, I'm a true believer in less said, more done. But also remember that when you're doing that, treat it like a flow chart. You know, they're going to that particular page for that particular basic piece of information, and they get it. So what do they need next? What are the different places that they're going to want to go next, and make sure that that's on that page so they can click right to it. Give them the next step. Get to your landing page.
Yep.
But make sure you're thinking how they're thinking and not how great it looks to us.
Yep. I mean, we've talked about our single page funnel. We've talked about multi-page funnels, which Anna is sort of what you're alluding to. And then we've talked about microsites where all pages link to each other's pages. Zeroing in on what Anna's talking about, think about it as the choose your own adventure for your recipient, right? Your recipient's on that page and they've gotten to the end of that page and it's like, what steps are they going to be allowed to take? Are they only going to have one choice? And again, then their choice becomes I either continue forward by clicking on the call to action or I bounce from the page, or are they going to have multiple choices? You know, you came in for this topic, but do you want to read on these other topics? Or do you want to go to my shopping cart immediately or the product page immediately? Do you want to be directed to that lead capture form? You're the designer of that flow and that journey. Just remember, to Anna's point, we're reducing that friction. We're making those options available to them.
Absolutely. So we had some more people join. Yeah, no, I just want to, we've had a couple new people join in. So we're talking a little bit about perfection, making sure that we are not locking our shuffle cards up in our phone that no one knows we even created because we think they're not good enough to send yet. Making sure that we're not, obsessing over little things that, I mean, you find people that they're like, I have shuffle, but I don't know what to send. That's the other thing I get a lot is I have, these 3 or 4 cards that I've built, but I don't know which one to send at the right time. What is the right time to send? Send something, right? That's the other thing is don't not send something, make sure you're responding to people or you're putting out marketing information. What did we talk about last time? It's not just doing business with people, like and trust. It's making sure they know that you exist.
Yes.
Right. So if
That's
you're
half
not
the battle,
marketing yourself.
Half the battle is letting
Half the
people know
battle.
that you exist and what value you can bring to them. If nobody knows about you, you're just sort of sitting out there. And to the old Wayne Gretzky quote, guys, we miss 100% of the shots we do not take, right? I mean, I'm going to continue to drop those quotes and things like that because they remind me, you got to take the shots. And I always heard this analogy in the US, right? The US is amazing for entrepreneurs and business owners because it's like baseball. We get a swing and all we have to do is hit a home run. But we can hit singles, doubles, and triples, and we get unlimited at bats, guys. This isn't 3 strikes and you're out. You made your page, it didn't work. You update it, it didn't work. You continue to dial it in until you find what works for what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, and I think too is that, just kind of like getting on calls or going back and watching different things is also using shuffle in different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are like, oh, it's a digital business card. And you're like, well, wait a minute. I can connect this to my, email footer. For me, I've done it where I've connected it in a link on an email to introduce somebody to someone. I can use this as a way to open a conversation in a networking event. I can use this as a way, there's so, again, I always say it's like the Swiss Army knife of marketing, right? Because it's just like, what do you need? Let me see how Shovel can help you with that.
Well, and to the flexibility of the platform, Cathy, that's the thing. Everybody's needs are different, right? If you're a contractor and you're going to do service work at people's houses, and you've got a truck or a sign that's going to be in the neighborhood in their yard, you can use Shuffle, right? But that's going to be a lot different than if you're a brick and mortar restaurateur who's going to use a placard that sits on a table with a QR code that links to a menu or to the the rewards program. Again, both are going to leverage Shuffle, but they're leveraging it in totally different, yet to some degree similar ways. Same thing. Somebody might be out there just networking all the time, and they really want to just be tapping people's information. Again, the exact same thing. I think the common thread through all of that is we're talking about different ways to share information, but it's all going to point to some content that somebody's going to be seeing. And then obviously it's the variety of all of that content, right? We were talking about, Guy and I were on a web interview last week talking about some of this. And it's like, think about James. James uses it as a DJ, and it might be a way for him to interact with people to request songs or to have a virtual tip jar. That serves that purpose at that time for that audience. But the landscaper is not going to use it in the exact same way.
Right.
Or the author who's speaking about their latest book might put a QR code that says, hey, and if you're seeing this, you can go direct to the Amazon and download the book title or get it on Audible. They're using it, but they're using it in a whole different way. It's the way we want to connect with our audience and share that information.
Or share people's information for them.
Exactly.
I really think that's probably one of the biggest things that people don't know about Shuffle is being able to network with it. So if you're completely obsessed and you're like, oh, I just can't share that, Cathy might send that to somebody because she goes and networks. And again, you just put a stopgate on your own marketing because you're not ready to share something with someone who might share your information. I freely share information, everywhere. I'm constantly putting Shuffle links on Nextdoor, on Facebook, on Messenger, on Instagram, wherever I am. If somebody's like, I need whatever it is.
You probably get approached daily, Cathy, wouldn't you say, on somebody asking not just for help with something, but Cathy, you know everybody. Do you know a X, Y, and Z? You know, and you're like, yeah, no problem. And then they're pretty surprised every time you have some of that information just at your fingertips.
Well, I mean, if you consider something like that next door, that's not even a group of people that know who I am. But the
Yeah.
fact that I can continuously go on, and I tell people, like, I just met a guy took over the air conditioning company that we were using that's in one of my networking groups. I'm like, listen, I need to know if do you need business? Do you want new business? Are you looking for customers? Or are you, stacked and don't have any time? Because if you work in this area and you're looking for new people, I will take your information and make sure it gets out there. Let's make you a card so that I have it to share the way I share. And he was like, let's do it.
Well, and I think the big value on the networking side is the point of selling through people, right?
Mhm.
And we've talked about this before with the statistics. Again, Guy and I are pretty big data guys. Average person knows 600 people. Like, that should be a big blinking light in all of our heads that everybody in our current list or network right now, if you pulled up your phone, if you went to the bottom of your contacts and it says you have 1,000 people, think about that. That's a reach to 600,000 people. But we don't look beyond that first layer of relationships when if we actually tap rooted into our relationships, hey, Mike, I know now's not the right time to be working together, but do you know anybody who I could be helping? And then Mike thinks about it and he goes, you're right, ER, maybe in 6 months I'll be in a better position, but you know what? You should talk to Dan or Samantha or whatever he recommends. And he now makes the relationship or the connection, or I empower him to say, yeah, great. If you wouldn't mind connecting me, you can forward my card information and empower that to happen. That's a huge, in my mind, untapped gold mine that a lot of us overlook because we're too focused on like, give me a name, let me talk to that person, try and get a sale. And if I don't get that, I'm going to go out and look for the next name. And we don't realize the next name can come from that existing pool of relationships.
Well, the fun thing too is you don't have to sell yourself, right? Most people are don't want to sell themselves. I know I don't. Like, I just, if it's polka dots, I want my leadership team or my members to bring people because they love what we're doing and they want to, their friends to be involved. I'm not trying to sell their friends on something that they have to join. Their friend is going like, hey, this is really fun. You should come check this out. This happened the other day. It happens all the time, and I love it. I always think, hey, I'm stepping on Cathy's toes, but we were at a lunch and one of the girls across the table was like, tell me about this digital business card thing. And somebody else at the table was like, let me take this. And I was like, okay, go ahead. And she was like, this is why you shuffle and all the things to do. Why I wish I'd had it longer. And I was just like, that was pretty good. I like it. I have nothing else to add unless you have a question. Yeah. But I didn't have to sell it. Yeah. So letting people like take ownership and tell other people about you, even in front of you, right? Yeah. There was no reason for me to step in and answer that question. This person was, enthusiastic and excited and answered her perfectly.
Yep. No, that's huge. And that's empowering as well.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody can pick that up and start to speak to it. And I know, Cathy, you and I were talking about sort of the theme for this week, which is still on that fire, right? Financial independence, retire early. And really that boils down to the cash flow side of things and how we can generate revenue and cash flow in our business. And we talked about last week the topic, and we shifted that topic over this week to be more of a obsession, right? So we don't just want to have ambitious goals. We want to be obsessed about what we're working on and be thinking in that obsessed mind frame in a way, right? Just getting really obsessed about how does my business operate? What generates revenue in my business? Who are my target audiences? Am I building? It's that ideation of brainstorming that allows you to really expand on all these potential ways where once you start thinking on it, you could identify, oh, I need a card to do that. And I need to build a card over here to do that. And you make your big list and you're like, wow, I was just thinking digital business card and now I have 15 other cards I need to create. And I want to inject them into these areas of my business to best support me. And I think that's one of those things that gets overlooked sometimes as well, is we're just focused on what's in front of us. Maybe it was pitched to us as a digital business card, and then we don't think about like, oh, wow, my company is launching a new product next week. And it's just going to go into the catalog with all their other products. They're going to have a little bit of promotion stuff, but I want to go back to all my prospects and customers, and I want to build a card specific to that new product release and highlight that and get it out to people. Or these are the top 5 products of this SKU of 100 products. And instead of giving somebody the whole catalog, I want to build a card for each one of those products or services so I can really highlight it to the people I'm talking to.
We should do that sometime. We should just make a master list of all the different things we've heard about of how people use their shuffle cards. Because I had another user say the same thing. She was like, so-and-so's using this as an invite to an event. And I'm like, mm-hmm. And they're like, well, I just never thought about using it that way. And I was like, okay, well, let's break that down. What does that look like? How simple is that? Or, I have a friend that she has an Airbnb. So when you arrive, she sends you the card. Here's all the instructions, everything that's at the house. Here's the links to the local restaurants. Here's the links to whatever. I mean, she just has it all. And the people are always like, this is so fantastic and so simple. So I mean, there's so many different ways, I know I don't even know all the ways that everybody's using shuffle cards.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's fine. It's fun to sit down and brainstorm. Like you just brought up the Airbnb. You know what I mean? If I was an Airbnb owner, I would have all of those things, right? Like, here is what you need to turn on and what you need to turn off during your stay, all of these things, where everything is at. Then you talk about a whole section that's like, you're maybe new to this area. Here's all these things that surround it. And it could be as simple as, and here's an easy way for you to give us a review or rank our Airbnb. And all of those things collectively play a role in you getting the next Airbnb tenant or whatnot. So I think that's this thing where it's like, oh, if I can just find ways to help resolve or speed along the process of these events within my business, can a landing page support me in that? You know what I mean? If you say yes to that, then put that down on the list of pages or cards you need to create. And once you have that big list, you build them all out, and then you decide, how am I delivering these? Oh, they just checked in for the Airbnb. Boom, I'm going to text this back out to them. Or, oh, wow, they open the front door and there's their little welcome basket and there's a QR code sitting there. Again, 2 totally different flows that might deliver that card to that person. Or maybe you're doing it both ways. So they're like, oh, wow, they texted it to us and we were able to scan it throughout the house. I mean, that could be really powerful,
Yeah, I got my new oven delivered yesterday. It has a QR code right on the front.
Yeah.
I mean, have you guys heard of any interesting ways that we have never talked about or haven't talked about in a while that people are using because that's really right. Go back to your fire, go back to your opportunity. Using your shuffle cards is building your financial, freedom. It's not just the money you can make as an affiliate in Shuffle.
Yep.
Is what are those cards bringing into your business?
100%.
That would be an interesting ROI per card. Anna.
Hey, we got some exciting news for the town just about 17 miles away. And I could use some input on how to handle this one. Fort Morgan, Colorado has been chosen for season 2 of Hometown Makeover.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Now, does that sound like a great opportunity for digital business cards?
It does. It does. I imagine like all of these people who are going to apply, if they haven't already selected the selection process, and that could be something that could go through with a quick, easy way to apply so that your home get included in Hometown Makeover. You know what I mean? It's about having a landing page that collects that, or maybe highlighting houses, doing some of that type of stuff. There could be a lot of those things.
They're talking about Main Street. They're talking about the businesses.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What a good way to infuse technology as they, refresh and revitalize those businesses. Here is a new way to allow people to interact. It could be QR codes on every storefront, etc.
I have to see if I, can use the logo or, put up a picture of Fort Morgan and these and the actors or the guys who are doing the HGTV.
Yeah.
And create a free digital business card for the business owners downtown so they can take advantage of this big, exciting event and just update the links to the show.
Yep.
We have do they have like a downtown area that they can you walk Main Street?
Well, the makeover area is going to be downtown. But
right, but is it like a walkable?
All the businesses in the area are going to be affected. and they'll want to promote it as, like they're a part of it, even if they don't get their makeover.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. There's a cute little town not far from here that every time I go through, I'm always just like, because it would just be that perfect like QR code on every door, either saying like, here's our hours, or here's a link to our website, or here's next time you come back, we're sorry we missed you if they were already closed, or something to interactively, right, interact with that business.
Well, it'd
And
be
then to
neat
your
to
point,
have
yeah,
a frame, a frame for the QR code that kind of reflects, here's our digital business card, here's our info, and
Mhm.
have it be kind of standardized as you
Yep.
go down. Even if you're not on the main drag, you see that and you say, oh, these guys have it together. You just take a little picture and find out all about them.
Right. But to your point also on that, a link that says, and want more information on what's coming with the home, with the makeover,
Yep.
Yeah.
stay connected here.
It's
And
the
then,
next episode, yeah.
Mhm.
Where do I get?
Oh yeah. I just think that I think that's the smartest thing somebody can do, is to have, to me, it becomes interactive, right? I always say like your business card, your shuffle card makes your business card interactive. The QR code makes your front door interactive, right? So if you're closed or they can't run in, they're out of time, they're running to the airport, whatever it is, and they're like, oh, that was really cute, I wish I'd had time to run in there and grab that. Here, at least get our information too, you can come back.
Their website, yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
No, that's great.
So I'm
I love
pretty
that
excited
idea.
about that. Tiny town USA, but
Yep.
that's a lot of business owners.
Well, and from the business owner perspective too, I mean, it makes me think of what James always talks about, where he says, follow the dollar, right? Anybody who has customers, who you're their customer, who is looking for customers, there's a good way or chance that they could benefit from having at least one landing page. It could be about the owner, it could be about the business, could be about their products, could be about their online store when they're closed, or their hours of operation, any of those things. So to come in, and I think this is the interesting thing about these ideas, right? We talk about these ideas, and guys, any one of us, we're all dispersed, could implement any one of these ideas. You just have to also take it upon yourself to go buy those businesses, shop around that idea. You know what I mean? And you make it happen, right? Hey, have you been selected for the hometown heroes, or the hometown makeover type of thing? Great, let's go through and put a card together for you so that you can tout that to the
I don't
people
want
that
to
are
do that
coming
much
in.
work. I mean, I'm going to do it for the businesses. I am doing it for the businesses I know and work with. But
Yeah,
I thought I'm just going to go to the chamber.
yeah,
That's what I was thinking too.
And that's an additional tool for them and a fundraiser.
yep, exactly.
Yes, but yeah, especially just
Happy
go
and I
see.
get alike. I don't want to work that hard. I want to be that connected, but I don't want to work that hard.
Yep.
Especially with the tap card. Yeah, definitely. Hey guys, saw you joined. Do you have anything you want to add? We're talking about obsession, perfection, making sure that you're not sending out a card because you don't think it's ready yet. All kinds of things.
I mean, I'm sort of setting in a live event, and I think it really falls into to our topics and the obsession of knowing that we have to prepare and anticipate today more than ever than react. Because I think a lot of us are getting, or potentially getting, into a react state, or there's a large portion of the population that's going to have to start reacting. And the preparing and anticipating is, I think, what we've done as a company, to know that those things are happening now. And now it's about getting that information out to others. The obsession of understanding that there's people that need to react.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like investing in ourselves. We invest in ourselves whenever we're learning something new. And we've invested in ourselves in understanding what LFI is. And we all have enough information to be dangerous in getting information out to other people. I mean, setting in a live, just got off an interview on a podcast, and knowing that today more than ever it's needed. There's so much out there. You know, Warren Buffett said 2 things you need to do. You need to invest in yourself, and then you need to find a product that doesn't have much cost overhead and that has great margin.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? There's so many people that need us that don't even understand why they need us, right? So that's what we're all here for.
Right, and with, you know, the obsession, the everything with that is, if we haven't, we need to shift the conviction to know that we have that thing.
Yeah.
Right, and when is the right time? It's now. I mean, now is the time, more than ever, that that LFI as a company, as a network, as a group, I feel brings as much value to any individual than anything else out there, right? We get served ads all the time with, join this, take a look at this. It's probably something that can be expensive and can't be utilized by everybody. And here we are, like, knowing that business, people moving their lives forward, is going to be based on what they do, how they grow their relationships, how they get their information out to others, but how those others can then be on the same page to get their information out. It's that servant mentality. We're here. Now's the time. I don't know any other way to light a fire than to say it. On that live event that I was watching, they're talking about what people are looking for, and they're conceptually talking about it. Like, the concept is here. Like, it's the solution is here.
Yep. I mean, seriously, there's so many people. I mean, we are like superheroes for those people that find us and go like, wait, it can do this? And they look at you like, where have you been all my life?
Right.
Where have you been? Yeah, Shelly.
You know how skateboarders used to take the stickers and stick them on every sign they saw? You have no idea how much I have to hold myself back not to print out our QR codes and just stick them everywhere. But something I have been doing that maybe other people could try is, when I see a van go past me, like a business van that has a QR code on it, I call them and say, hey, your QR code, it's stagnant, right? How would you like it if you'd be able to change that where it goes every time? Like, if you update stuff or whatever, you can update it. And they're like, how do you do that? So that's getting a lot of traction with people. I'm finding they like that.
I love that.
And Shelly, you can be empowered to show them how. No problem. I can show you how,
Yep.
or I can do it for you. And you know, again, throw a management fee in there. We've got plenty of people who are building cards for other people, managing those cards, updating the taps, doing all of that type of stuff. I think that's the biggest thing that we've been talking about, especially when we bring it full circle back to our topic of fire. Guys, this is all about, as entrepreneurs, generating cash flow, right? We want to generate these revenue streams, and we want positive cash flow in our lives. And we're looking for just all these different applications or opportunities to inject our technology, to inject your ability to be a servant leader within that, or provide that service to other people. And you know, what Guy was saying is so true. We're talking about tools that literally every single business that exists today needs and can benefit from. They may not know that it's available. They may not know that they need certain aspects of it. But if you ask them certain things, how do you? This is the best thing. I always say this. The person asking the questions is the person controlling the conversation. Cathy, how do you monitor your relationships right now? Do you have a big system? Are you using an Excel spreadsheet? Just have a notebook? I'm just curious. If you ask a question, most likely somebody's going to give you a response. Oh, you should see my Excel sheet. It's from here to the moon, and I've got all these tabs and stuff. And you know what? It works for me, but it's pretty cumbersome, and I don't think anybody else on my team could replicate it. Well, what if I could show you a way where you could organize that whole thing and make it repeatable for anybody who wanted to follow along? Oh, that'd be amazing. I didn't even know that existed, Or what if I could show you a way? Again, I think these are all things that once you elicit that question from the business and then sort of position a solution, that conversation starts to lead to, wow, that's amazing. Again, there are still people out there, and there will continue to be, probably for the next few years, where even tapping their phone with NFC is creating a magical experience because they've never experienced it before, guys. Think about it. We've had NFC in our hands for months now, and there are still people who've never experienced NFC. And when you're the one giving it to them, man, your credibility increases, your positioning with them increases, their viewpoint of you increases dramatically. And they're like, Anna, I didn't know you were such a tech guru. You know what I mean? How did you make that happen? And you're like, oh, that's pretty easy. I can show you how to do that. Or if you want, I can do it for you. Then that opens you can, like, oh my gosh, yes, I would love to learn more. Boom. These are the spidey senses start popping up when you start hearing people's replies to that stuff. And that's the powerful thing about technology, guys. I'm sitting over here, and every now and then I get served this thing, but this is your Forbes billionaires list, right? We can all look these things up on Google, read through the source of the wealth, and about 80% of them, their wealth, and I'm not trying to be a billionaire here, you know what I mean? But of a business and of a model and of an industry, 80% of these people got it in technology. So do you think that trend will continue? Because if we looked at that list 20 years ago or 40 years ago, it was like petrochemicals and oil and gas and all this other stuff. Guys, we're in the midst of this shift that's happening, and we see it happening all around us. And sometimes change happens slow, so you don't think it's happening at all. And then you look up one day and you're like, wait a second, I'm not using a dial-up modem anymore. I've got satellite internet, and emails have been replaced by text messages. Things are going to continue to advance. So however you can position yourself to follow along with that efficient frontier of what's happening creates awesome opportunity for capitalization, for revenue streams, for all of that. That's what excites us about the affiliate program so much.
I mean, to tie to that, tie on to that just real quick. You're looking at the Forbes list, and it's in technology. They're the only ones available to receive that through their technology, right? There's a shift. There was a pivot when we first created this and said no.
Yep.
Like, let's bring others along for the ride. Let's allow them to be the ones that get the praise, get brought up on stage, are the ones that are identified as part of the Forbes list because they helped. They might not have had any ownership as the core company, but they might be the leading marketer. They might be the leading sales. Their network, and anyone's network can do those types of things with our platform. I believe we're the only ones I know of that can do that from a technology aspect.
So I had to go back to ER's thing about asking questions. I was floored this week. The people just, I think they're programmed, right? They're programmed to think like, oh, there's no possible other way to do this, right? So I was on a call with a bunch of other nonprofits. We do a call, a bunch of nonprofits, and all of us get together, and we're similar in what we do. And one of the gals was saying like, oh, hey, so-and-so, can you send me some more flyers? Like I need more flyers at our location. And she was like, yeah. Oh man, we're out of that one, but I have this other one, but I'm reprinting that one because, we had some changes and numbers and addresses changed and this and that. And I was like, oh, hold on 1 second, hold on. Yeah. And I was like, I just want to offer, I will personally take this on. I'm offering my, my skill set. If you would like to digitize that and have a QR code that somebody could scan. And she's like, oh, that's really sweet of you, but this information changes all the time. So, I'm like, exactly.
That's why.
So immediately she's thinking, here's what I say every time somebody asks me a question. You couldn't possibly make this easier for me, where I'm going like, no, seriously, we could make this. You never have to print this again, or at least you don't have to print as many.
Yep.
And we can change this in 5 seconds.
Yep.
So I think part of it too is asking the question, taking the answer, and then going, but what if we could do this?
Yep.
Right? Because it's not, you don't always take their answer and just go, oh, okay, don't call you, next week. Okay, I will. Yeah. Well,
Well,
what if we did?
Cathy, you mentioned asking the question. There's this aspect of as well, right? When you're digging into asking those questions, getting the responses, formulating answers and stuff like that. There's the if I, would you type of comment. I know Michael Ray's talked about it. It's all this stuff. You've gotten information from them that they've announced. These are my problems, or these are my objections, or these are my issues. And then you're going through and you're attacking each one. If I could accomplish this for you, would you be interested in letting me do that? Oh, if I could resolve this for you, and you could update it on the fly, and you'd have to print 90% less. And, sort of you've done the effort of listening and keeping your mouth shut. And then you're reformulating the response, showing them, I've listened to you. I've heard your problems and frustrations, right? I've thought of a solution that's different than what you're currently doing and potentially more efficient. I'm presenting it back to you to make sure that if it could be accomplished, that would be a benefit to you. And then, now they're saying, well, yeah, actually, Cathy, I didn't think it was possible, but if you could spin up a landing page, if you could generate a QR code to Shelley's point that never expired and could be updated in the future. And if I could come back to these pages and update them on the fly so we don't have to continually print it out, because I could print 500 of these tomorrow and then Wednesday it could change again.
Well, you're also using your nonprofit money. Right.
Yeah.
So you put that money somewhere else and save that budget, at least reduce that budget. Right.
Yeah.
And again, just be open to the conversation. I told you earlier when we talked this afternoon, I had somebody that just texted me on Saturday and she was like, hey, Cathy, we met a year and a half ago. I just wanted to let you know I just signed up for Shuffle finally today. Things changed. I'm ready to jump in. And I'm like, okay. Right. So again, just because the answer was no a year and a half ago, things change, and Shuffle was still in the back of her mind, and I still had her text message.
I mean, I'm going to throw the quote out again, right? No just means not right now. No just means not right now, right? So continue the follow-up loop. We've talked about so many times. Set the expectation. Anna, I know now's not the right time, but would it be okay if I reached out to you next quarter and just touch base? They might say no again to that, but most likely people are pretty good. Yeah, ER, no problem. I don't think you'll follow up with me in a quarter anyway, so throw me on your list and I'll talk to you then. And then a quarter goes by and you follow up again. And Cathy, to your point, and I've seen this happen as well, where it's not just a month later or even 6 months later, you're talking a year and a half. Guy and I have people who we call it, coming out of the woodwork, where all of a sudden you're not thinking about it. And then 5 people are there that you haven't talked to in 2 years. And whatever shiny objects they might have been distracted by at that moment in time 2 years ago are no longer there, or they've moved on from that. And you're still top of mind,
Yep. Absolutely.
Anna, I know you've been very patient
on us.
Well, there just 2 crazy things that have come up in this discussion, but in how I've been dealing with some of my prospects. One of them is that, well, I have to get a website. No, you don't have to get a website. I mean, that's the key.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend big money, big time, big resources to even have a 5-page website. You can do this with a digital business card. So, and you can use your domain name. As you can see on my screen, it says AnnaMBrooks.com.
Yep.
That's to my digital business card. That'll get you started. So it's great. But the key thing that when you're talking about, and I'm so looking forward to the training tomorrow night, Cathy, because you're going to talk about PDFs. I do a lot of PDFs and I really want them to be accessible. But here's what I really love. Out here in rural America, we do a lot of craft fairs and trade shows and farmers markets and little events going on all the time. How valuable is it to those small businesses that when they set up their QR code for a particular event, they can actually put right on that link, here's what would be next time. And when they update it and say, we're going to be here, everybody they have given that card to or click that QR code is going to get notified that they're there. And they didn't have to send out a mass email.
Yeah, it's super powerful. And I think the key on a lot of that too, Anna, as you're talking about it, is the ability to connect with our potential customers. When you're at that craft show or trade fair, and we've got some here like the local farmers market, you might be the only person working your booth. And I remember a friend of mine, he sells this craft that is super popular. And whenever he's at a craft fair, there's like 20 people around him. You know what I mean? And he wants to take time to share information with each person, but there's not enough of his time to go around. So to have something that somebody can interact with, grab some more information, maybe go and learn a little bit more, watch a video, visit a web page, etc. Even leave their information. I'm interested in learning more. You don't know if the person only has 2 minutes while they're stopping by your booth. You know, the ability to connect with them and continue on with that relationship and do it in a way that reduces friction is so key. I mean, it performs 10 times better than, say, having that stack of printed out business cards that are sitting on your table at the craft fair, because we just know what's going to happen to those once somebody walks by and takes it.
Your digital business card doesn't need a bio break.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, you guys, this has been such a good call. This just makes my brain go like, ooh, you need to go do this. You need to go do this. You need to go talk to this person. Who haven't you followed up with? Like my brain just starts going. Greg, I think Greg said you had a specific question on a card.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so I've been giving my one of my business cards out, and I've noticed at the bottom my campaign isn't showing up for them to fill out.
Okay.
How would I know I put it on there. How do I get it to where it will?
First, if you have that campaign link, Greg, let's throw it in the chat right now, and so we can open it up.
Okay.
One of the things I want to confirm is that you're sending the campaign link and not the pre-link, even if you built the campaign, because I think that that's a common micro mistake. You know what I mean? And if it is, we'll show you where to grab that campaign link. The other thing would be to make sure that the form or the template that you're using has the lead capture form within that template to show up if you're choosing for it to show up on the card, like at the bottom of the card.
Okay. So would that link be the same as my card?
Yeah, let me jump in there and I'll show you exactly what we're talking about. And in fact,
I was gonna say, you want me to pull up Doug Demo or you got it?
I think I've got Doug Demo up here. You guys should be seeing my screen right here. I'm gonna move this little video thing over. So on our cards, and oddly enough, here we go. We've got your old sample chocolate card here, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
What you'll see on here is you've got a whole section called campaigns.
Right.
So I'm going to hit preview though, and I'm going to show you what a preview link looks like. It looks like this right here. Okay. Mm-hmm. A campaign will have some additional information following this /VBC and the card ID number. Now this is a little bit technical, but that's really what you're looking for. So this is just the preview of my card. So if I have a lead capture form in this template, it's not going to show up in the preview unless I'm using a campaign. We have to remember lead capture forms are currently tied to campaigns. So let's take a look if we have any campaigns for this card, and we're going to open up campaigns, and I can see there are no campaigns. So we're going to create a campaign real quick as an example and put a lead capture form. But the other thing I want to check out on our template, I'm going to go in and edit that template, because the thing I want to call out, you can see things that are grayed out, like this image thing that we've grayed out and we've hidden. We've got it, we can show it, but it's hidden right now. As we scroll down, we're looking where in this does the campaign form exist. You see where it says campaign form?
Yes.
Because wherever that exists on the page is where the form is going to show. Okay. So just under the My Reviews, we expect that when we create a campaign and use the form, it will show up under that review. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to jump back in. We'll get out of the editor. and we're going to create a quick campaign. We're just going to ask for their name and phone number. So it's just going to be a 2-question campaign for the sake of this little overview. We're going to come in here and we're going to go to our campaign. We're going to hit the create a new campaign. We're going to give our name, we're going to just say lead capture. We're going to say use to get let's say we're using it to get name and phone number at a craft fair. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we want to make sure we're including lead capture, Greg. That's the key. And then based on the options that we select, where we say show at bottom, that's wherever that campaign form is in your template. Whereas optional and mandatory pop-ups will actually pop up before they can see the card. And we'll take a look at what all of those look like. But we can see it adds in the first name field. We'll add in one more field, the short text field, and we'll ask them for their phone number. Okay. We'll make both of those mandatory. The name one is automatically mandatory, but we've added this new one. And that's as quick as it takes to create our campaign. Now you can see there's a longer link right here, and we're going to copy that link. But I want you to compare that link we were just looking at to this shorter link. That's the difference between our preview link and our campaign link. So I'm going to paste over this link with the campaign link. It just, all it's adding is this little extra thing that denotes what campaign it is. Okay, and I'm going to hit enter. It's going to refresh the page. It looks the exact same, but as we scroll down, Greg, on here, just underneath the reviews, there's that little form that we added in. So the first thing I did is I checked in my template to make sure the campaign form element was on the card, because that could be a reason why it's not showing up. And I'd encourage you to do that on the card that you're considering having that form tied to. And then you can drag and drop that in the advanced builder if you're using advanced builder form, wherever you want that form to be. The alternative to this is before they even get to my card, right, our chocolates card, we're going to pop up the form to begin with. So we'll just come back in here, we'll edit the campaign, and we're just going to move down here and change it from a showing on the card to an optional pop-up and hit save. And then we'll come back to the card and we're just going to refresh the screen, because remember, our links don't change. So once we view the card, we can just refresh it and look, there's our form popping up. So take a look at your card, Greg. Let me know if you want to share the link with me directly or with the insiders group to help troubleshoot. We're happy to help troubleshoot. Just make sure that you're using the campaign link and that the campaign that you've created has the form either in the template or as a pop-up. Okay. Okay. And, like I said, if it's something where the campaign form doesn't exist within the template, we could probably get that added. I also have seen the workaround to that is using the optional or mandatory pop-up. In any case, if the campaign form element isn't on your card, the pop-up will still work. Okay.
So I'm gonna go to part 2 of that answer.
Yeah.
Is the sending part, right? So if you're sending it to them, here's the thing to remember. So on mine, it has the lead capture attached. And usually because I don't normally do a lead capture, if I'm just talking to somebody, right, I don't need to do that. But if I want to, that QR code's already on my home screen, right? So if I'm at a networking event, you're in a hurry, I'm in a hurry, something's up, I can just go like pop that open and go, here, scan this, put your information in, we'll connect later, right? So it depends on how you're sending it. But if you go to your app, send card, and you're sending it to somebody via text or email or whatever, you're going to want to choose the include lead capture, where it pops that up at the bottom and it says, do you want to include a lead capture? Yes or no? You have to say yes if you want it to text or email with that. Because if you're just sending the card, like a normal card, and you don't have a lead capture on it, you're just like, go to Cathy, hit this card, send. That's just the card. So you have to specifically tell it if you want it to send the lead capture.
Okay.
Does that may be part of it?
And also, Greg, I'll throw out, I'm happy to jump on a one-on-one call if you need, and we can do a Zoom and like we've done before, share screen and test it out. I think this is one of those other things is don't be afraid to test it out on others and on yourself. That's part of that done is better than perfect. That could include opening it for yourself and sort of pretending as if you had received a text, you're viewing it and going through that experience. That includes sharing it with others within the community, whether you're doing that within insiders. That means connecting with us or with team members and saying, hey, I just built this new card. I want to make sure I'm dialing it in. This is my first test. Can you give me some feedback real quick?
Do you see a lead capture at the bottom? You know, so
please take a look for that. Yeah.
the other thing to know is if you want to send it with the lead capture, I've noticed that you need to send it from cards. So you want to go to your card section, pick the card, hit send. It'll say, do you want to include lead capture? You hit yes.
Yep.
If you send it the way I send it, which I know I trained another way, I send it from contacts.
Yep.
I don't think that option appears, and I'm not sure if that's intentional or not intentional, but I know that if I want to send a lead capture, I send from the cards.
Yeah. I also have gotten myself in the habit, Cathy, of if I know it's a lead capture situation, I'll just always default to a campaign, even if I'm sending it to somebody I already know. I'll still say like, here's this link, there's a form on it to fill out, especially if that form isn't tied to capturing a lead, but it's more tied to capturing some information like, hey, Dana, I know we've got an upcoming meeting. Here's a card. It's got a little quick survey of 5 questions. Can you fill that out before the event? I would still send him a campaign link instead of Danon card because it wouldn't include the campaign.
Yep, agreed. Hey, Dana, what's up?
Hello, everybody. I wanted to know, like, when he put the capture, the capture thing on the captured part on that card, would he be able to move it around?
Yes. So again, we've got it as a pop-up right here, Danon. I'm going to show you real quick because we're going to come back into this campaign. Okay. We're going to go to the campaigns and I'm going to put it back on the card. So we're going to edit this campaign.
And put it at the bottom, right?
Yep. And we're going to put it back on show at bottom of card. I'm going to hit save. So again, we just did that to save it. Then I'm going to hit refresh. Okay. And I just want to do this to give you a quick overview. You can see it goes back to underneath the reviews is that campaign form. If we come back into that card and we'll edit the template of the card like you were talking about, as long as you're in the desktop editor, if you click on that element just below the reviews, that is the campaign form, you'll see this little arrow up and down thing that you can actually drag that campaign form around. So in this case, I'm going to move it back up and we'll put it, let's say we'll put it just above the text here. In fact, let's just make it glaring that we moved it. We're going to put it right below the logo. We're going to hit save. We're going to come back, Danon, on here, and we're going to refresh it. And remember, it was at under my reviews. Now, when we refresh it, we're expecting it to show between the selection menu and the branding. So we'll refresh it, and it shows up there. So you can move that form around as long as you're moving the campaign form element within the card editor.
Right now, everybody wants Greg to add a how to order on that.
Right, that's right.
Everybody's hungry. Did that help, Danon? Awesome. Cool. All right. Any other questions this week? Anything else we can walk through, help you with? Yeah, Greg.
Yeah, I just want to say that did help me, and I think the last couple times I've noticed where it's not is when I'm doing my tap card.
Okay. Other thing I would recommend is create a campaign specific for tap. Call it your tap campaign or call it tap campaign lead capture. Again, a lot of the times when we're at an event or we're going to be tapping to multiple people. So it's not a who link where I'm sharing it, Cathy's link to Cathy and Greg's link to Greg. I would create and you can have multiple campaigns for cards. So remember that. I would create a campaign, my tap campaign, and then put a lead capture form on that so that when you're tapping it, it either pops up, hey, give me your information and my information will be right behind it, or put it on the bottom, hey, let's connect. I even like the way that Cathy does it really well. Here's my card, but there's also a button on here that says let's connect, and it links to a secondary card that is always the lead capture campaign card.
Yeah, so that's just making sure you have the right link to your tap card.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a simple fix if that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody can always just message me if you do order.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. If anybody needs chocolate, we need like a Tuesday chocolate pick me up.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
Do you ship nationwide?
I do.
But not when it's 106,
I know. Kathy's gonna get hers all melted in a big pool of chocolate. Huh?
which is not a big problem. I'll accept that. All
just
right,
said-
guys, we will call it a day. I know it's already 3:00. I don't even know what time it is, after 3:00. If y'all need anything, you know where to find us. We'll see you tomorrow night for advanced training 102. It's Thursday morning for roundtable, Friday morning for Friday with the founders. You guys know where everybody is. And Dana and I'll hang out and see what you need.
I was just, okay, I know you doing what, Tech 102 tomorrow? When did you do Tech 101? Was that last week or?
It was last Wednesday. Yep. So that's still in editing. It's a long video, so it's going to take a little while to edit that. But that will come out on YouTube. We'll make sure that we get that announced. So 101 will come out on, that was the beginner. 102 is tomorrow night. That's more the advanced. And then next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central will be a deep dive into the desktop. And then I'm contemplating, we may do one after that's just strictly Q&A. So we'll see. I know
Okay,
there's
now,
so many things.
is all of the Tech Tuesdays on YouTube?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay, all the way up to there? Cool.
Yep. All of them and all in, well, they should be. I think they're in chronological order. So except for this one.
Okay.
So, but yes, this will get on there next.
And what about the Thursdays? Are all of them on there that you know of?
Guy,
Guy?
you guys, I'm pretty sure that they, because I think they're live.
Yes,
Yeah.
those are live. Those are all within our YouTube channel. They're all
Yeah.
Okay.
they're all tagged as either Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday.
Yeah. So I thought theirs are actually live to YouTube. So they never have a pause in between. These ones, just because sometimes we're talking about sensitive information or showing people's accounts or whatever, I tape them and then I can edit anything that showed that we, stuff that we don't want to see or whatever. So, but yeah, those are all in there. All good. All right, guys, y'all have a good week. We'll see you tomorrow night or next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.